In what ways do increasing numbers of possessions bind us to a particular life, a particular location, occupation, income, etc.? Can we discern our true vocation amidst the pressure to sustain our present material lifestyle? Are you an engineer because you like the salary and you like your boat and you like your this and your that and your other, but deep down in your gut, you really know God called you to be a history teacher? And you went a different route vocationally, and it really was motivated. It was all about money and security. Are we at liberty to hear God's call to us? Are we too encumbered? Love that word, encumbered. Or distracted by the things that we own or desire? What can't you risk for God because you're too encumbered by your stuff? What do we hope for and fear most in our lives? And how is our answer to these questions really bound up in our material lifestyle? What do we pursue above all else? What is the basis for our decisions about where to work, where to live, what to do with our time? These are the kinds of, I think, very thought-provoking, heart-provoking questions that if we just, in our small groups, spent 4 or 5 weeks really thinking about them, talking about them, praying through them, would hopefully lead to some changes. All right? Another thing that we can do is we can really practice this notion of belonging to one another. I'm always struck in reading the New Testament by passages like Romans 12:5 or verses in the 12th chapter of 1 Corinthians, where it talks about, you are all members of one body, and each belongs to the other. I just think we've got to let that really kind of land on us. Sometimes we're just zipping along, doing our quiet time, reading our book. Wait, stop, hello. Belongs. What does it mean that I belong to my brother Ken, and that he belongs to me? What does it mean that I belong to my best friend, to my fellow members of Trinity Presbyterian Church? What does it really mean to belong? Because that's what the Bible says that is real about, Ken was sort of putting it in the, what is the nature of human nature? What is the nature of human beings? Well, part of what the Bible tells us as our nature as human beings who have together commonly come to call Jesus Christ Lord is that we actually belong to one another. So how could we actually begin to practice functionally, not just doctrinally ascribing to the notion that we belong to each other, but functionally trying to practice what it looks like to belong to one another? And I think that there are sort of baby step type things we could do, and then there are some pretty ambitious things we could do, and I want to talk about those. So on the more limited kind of experiential side of practicing belonging, what about something as simple as maybe you have some Christian neighbors, people that go to your church or different churches, and what about just co-owning some things? Sometimes people have big lawns, and so they have those riding lawnmower things. Well, does everybody on the block have to own their own riding lawnmower? I mean, the things cost like a couple grand, right? I don't think so. I mean, it sits in the garage half the time. Why not talk to your Christian neighbor or somebody in your small group or whatever? What about co-owning, your little riding lawnmower, so not everybody has to buy one? Now Ken is practicing this very well. He owns a rototiller, which he has been quite generous with sharing with his people he belongs to. So, or, tools. I don't know. Okay, now, sorry, guys. I don't know anything about tools, but I know that some of them are expensive, these circular saws or, these different things. And, again, are you really using it 24/7? I don't think so. Could you at least find one other brother and go in together on some of these larger tools that cost hundreds of dollars? I just don't think I'd say that's kind of a baby step. Or on the giving side, what about practicing belonging to one another by, with your best friends or your family members, or maybe the people in your, some of you have been part of like a home Bible study fellowship group for a number of years. What about as a group or a little, partners, two couples together, whatever? What about supporting the same ministry together? What about sort of pooling your money and saying, let's all really focus on, the church is doing this, supporting this missionary who's doing amazing things, working with poor people in the dump in Guatemala City. Let's support that together. And share with each other how much you're writing the check for. Be open about at least that one little slice of your giving. And then what about actually kind of linking shoulders to support that ministry? Maybe you plan that the two families or the three families represented by that small group are all going to go on a short-term mission to that particular ministry together and work on it together. See, one of the things I think that's going to happen, at least it's happened in my life, is that you begin to, I don't want to call it competition because it's really not that. It's the iron sharpening iron. It's the enthusiasm begetting enthusiasm kind of thing, And so I may have thought I can really only afford to give $2,000 a year to this ministry, but now that I'm kind of in this little group and we're all excited, we've all gone, we've all seen it, we've all come back, we've all realized, man, we really do have way more stuff than we need, and we have more money than we need, and we all together realize, actually, we could do even more. And so our total amount of giving ends up getting bigger because we're kind of doing it with other people and we're talking about it and it's exciting and we're beginning to see the effects of our stewardship. And when we're giving and we realize, wow, wasn't that cool? We were able to scholarship. My brother's not even a believer. He's sort of a seeker. And there was a time years ago I was in his home in Houston, and I was just sharing with him. I've had a 25-year history of giving to this ministry in Guatemala City that works with families that are in the dump. And there was this one girl that was really that lived in the dump, and she was showing a lot of promise. She'd gone through all of their tutoring thing and had been in school, and she needed a scholarship to be able to go on to high school. And so I was just telling my brother about that, and I was saying, this is how much, I don't even remember, it wasn't that much. And I was saying, and I'm going to give whatever $3,000 towards her scholarship. And my brother, without me even asking, just said, well, I'd like to give to that too. I think that, he got captured by the notion. Now that girl has graduated. She's actually in her third year now at John Brown University and so sometimes when you're just giving with other people, it just starts to sort of sparks kind of start flying. So what about belonging in terms of practicing giving together? All right. So those are some what I would call kind of initial steps. What about some other even more significant things? What about starting like a food buying cooperative where you get together with a bunch of people and you buy things in bulk, and then it's sort of cheaper for everybody? Or what about in my community, and probably here in Richmond too, I'd imagine, there's a whole thing called community-supported agriculture, sort of CSA. It's the whole kind of buy local movement. And you can buy a share. And I couldn't buy a share because it would be so many vegetables coming into my house as a single person, and it would be overwhelming. But I could get together with a few other single people, and we could split one share in purchasing local groceries. That then you go every Saturday and you pick up, all your stuff. So those would be co-buying is another way to sort of practice belonging.